to catch up before the day and go over what's been happening overseas. So this morning we were talking about a lot of the issues of getting the aid into Gaza and deconflicting some of the misunderstandings.
Deconflicting, meaning?
Meaning that you have, and the right adjudications is something that's very necessary to put in place.
I heard the president asked you what the chances were for success.
Yes.
And you said?
100%. And he said, why do you feel so confident? Meaning that you have a lot of people with good intentions right now. An example is the UN is trying very hard to get food into the people of Gaza. The Turks were offering to send a recovery and rescue team in to help search for some of the dead hostages that we're looking to recover. And there's just a lot of miscommunication that stalls and holds up some of these efforts. So getting all sides' perspectives and finding a mechanism to get quick adjudications and the right adjudications is something that's very necessary to put in place.
I heard the president asked you what the chances were for success.
Yes.
And you said?
100%. And he said, why do you feel so confident?
Yeah.
And I said, well, we can't afford to fail.
We just kept on thinking to ourselves, this finish line is about saving lives.
I need to know if you did some bare knuckle stuff, you know.
60 Minutes overtime.
All set, Leslie, thank you.
Okay. So I understand that you were up at 4:30 in the morning, this morning, working, what, on phase 2? What were you working on?
So Steve is
I think of the real estate negotiation as hard-nosed, get your dukes up.
There were a couple intense moments that we had, but what led to this was really the trust that we were able to build. And I was trained in foreign policy really in President Trump's first term by seeing an outsider president come into Washington with a different school of foreign policy than had been brought in place for the 20 or 30 years prior. And his foreign policy was really about pragmatic realism, right? Taking pragmatic stances, trying to use strength to avoid wars, and figuring out how to make deals, not lecture the world. And so the way that...
Wait, what does that mean? Make deals and not lecture the world?
Focus on interests over values sometimes, and figure out where do we have joint interests with other countries and pursue those joint interests. And then where you have differences on interests or values, discuss those privately and try to find ways to get it to the best place possible. But the way that we were successful in the first term with a lot of the different trade deals and peace negotiations like Abraham Accords and ending the GCC dispute was that we never approached it with people like we were across the table from you. We sat with the people from other countries and we said, let's agree on the same objective. And then once we agreed on the objective, we kind of locked arms and said, let's figure out ways that we can work together to try and get there. We joke with the Abraham Accords that we succeeded at Plan C, but only because we went through the alphabet 3 times and failed at every letter and kept going, and we never quit.
And was that true here as well?
We probably went through the alphabet 7 or 8 times.
I think so, yeah.
And
this was more complex.
Yeah.
I heard that one of the things that was different from a diplomatic approach was that you took risks, more risks, a lot of risks. Would you agree with that?
Well, first I would say that President Trump is a very different sort of president to work for. He delegates well. I don't think people realize that. He gave us a lot of authority to negotiate. He felt, he understood the dynamics of it. We put him in the room. We explained it to him, I think, thoroughly. But he gave us lots of authority, Leslie, and I...
To make decisions without having to check in all the time.
Yeah, and it's not to say, by the way, that we wouldn't check in. We did check in often. Mm-hmm. But that feeling of comfortability on our part, it allowed us to freewheel it a little bit.
Give us an example of the freewheeling. Give us some insight into how that worked.
After the missile strike in Qatar from Israel, Steve and I basically were very upset about that. We thought that that really was not a smart strategic move, and it violated a lot of the trust that we felt like we deserved from the Israeli side. And so at that point, Steve and I basically sat together and said, we need to take a whole new approach, and perhaps with all of this chaos can come an opportunity, And so we decided to take the previous ceasefire proposal and then the end of war proposal that we've been working on and merge it together into one document, and then focus on seeing if we can get the Qataris and the Arab world on board. And so we put that together, spoke with the Qataris, made a lot of progress, brought it to the president, and he said, I love this idea, let's go all in, and let's push very hard to get the Arab world aligned, and then we'll figure out how to get Israel on board and turn this whole negotiation around.
Okay, I'm going to come back to the attack on the compound in Doha, but let's move forward for 1 second. So you have both done a lot of business with the Gulf states, billions and billions of dollars worth of business.